Since our time together yesterday, what have you heard? What are the biggest complaints?
Very similar things. Look, I wouldn't be so upset if Eversource was chipping away at it and they were restoring 300 or 500, 1,000 people a day until they got it squared away here. But the reality is that we haven't seen a truck, right? So they haven't even started the process to understand what material they're going to need, how they're going to fix things. That keeps pushing things out. Every day they're not here is another day that we have to wait on the other end. And I've got, as I mentioned yesterday, I've got seniors who have medical devices, who need oxygen, who have all kinds of different needs via electricity, air conditioning as well, and they don't get it. And so, I get angry. And I'm angry because, we have an organization that's a monopoly in this state whose CEO makes $19 million a year, and they can't keep the lights on. They can't prepare for a storm. And, oh, by the way, they can't even figure out how to keep your rates low because they send out these outrageous bills in July. So you put it all together, and I think it's time for a serious change in terms of the way we buy and deliver power here in the state of Connecticut. But in the meantime, we got to get the lights on. So that's what we're trying to do, and it's really up to Eversource at this point. Our folks can't do any more.
And so what can be done to that end? You talk about change in the state, and Ethan and I are sitting here and we're talking and joking, and I'm telling people to stop paying their bills and giving out the phone number over and over, about to give out the address and invite people down for a rally to the 3 corporate headquarters in Connecticut. What can be done? What do you think can be done? Has there been plans in the past to address the fact that they are a monopoly and they misbehave and steal from us and then don't do their job?
I think that we in the late 90s passed some legislation that was very well-intentioned, but has turned out to be a disaster. And we deregulated the energy industry here in Connecticut because we thought we would bring more competition in the marketplace and drive prices down. The opposite has happened, right? People don't want to come into our marketplace. They don't want to get involved. So this is not popular in my quarters because I am a free market capitalistic person. I believe in our system, but some things just should be highly regulated. One of them is the delivery of electricity. The reason the CEO is paid $19 million a year is because he squeezes every single ounce of profit out of that organization he can, and he does it by cutting crews. He does it by making sure that he has every little charge he can possibly put in these bills, so he can go to his board of directors and say, "Look, all the money I made you." And they had a record quarter last quarter. They made $250 million. That's great, but the lights aren't on.
Yeah, what about that? We always hear when there's a natural disaster. We've been through this a couple times now in I don't know however many years. We always hear about out of state, and in this case I'm hearing about Canada, out of country crews coming here to assist to get the power back on. What kind of workforce do they have in state? Why do they always have to bring in outside help? Or at least, like you said earlier, we haven't seen a truck in Danbury. So who was here on the ground working?
Well, part of that is they are a multi-state operation, and they're able to leverage other work crews in other states. But the issue they're saying as well, some of these states are COVID, on the COVID list, so we can't bring a lot of crews in from them. So that there is some of that. But I tell you, the way to do this is to contract with local people. We have some very large electrical companies in Danbury that have bucket trucks, that have trained staff, that could reconnect the power. So instead of taking their money, the ratepayers' money, and spending it on crews from Pennsylvania, Florida, and other places, invest in some of our own companies here in Connecticut. Keep them on standby. When a big storm comes in, call them a week ahead. Hey, we're expecting a storm. We're going to need 20 guys or 50 guys. You're going to cover this area along with our own crews. And I think things can get done a lot better. But the problem is that, in Connecticut, it costs a little bit more to do business. So the pricing for a crew from Connecticut versus a crew from Florida is a little bit more. So they want to squeeze every dollar out, right? So they're not going to give any business to local contractors. They're going to take their business and give it to somebody from Florida or out of state or somewhere that didn't get hit. So I think there are ways to address this, but, it does take a willingness to eat into the profit a little bit. But, look, they made $250 million last quarter, right? So I think they can probably spare an extra couple of $10 million.
You'd think that a man, or maybe, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, making $19 million as head of Eversource would be able to figure out what to do when we have a storm coming that's been talked about for 5 days.
Right.
I mean,
right.
But
I think Ethan, I think it begs the question. What can you possibly do in a given year to earn $19 million? I mean, that's more than a LeBron James makes. That's more than some of the greatest athletes in the world make. That's more than some of the most talented doctors in the world make. And what can you possibly do that's so wonderful for that kind of money? I don't know, except squeeze every ounce of profit out of that company. And you do it by cutting staff, cutting trucks, cutting services, cutting people that are on the ground, boots on the ground, and being able to show a much higher profit every quarter. That's how you keep getting raises. And
Eversource knows they're wrong because you can't find a representative that will talk to the media. And we have, I like to do the articles with you that feature sound from our interviews like this one and put your quotes in there. And especially at this time when everybody's paying attention to Eversource, and our editors are like, just give them the opportunity to talk. Just keep calling them. And I keep calling them and I keep calling them. And you'll get nothing back. So they know they're wrong. They're just running and hiding.
Yeah, or you're going to get a lot of yabba dabba do, tap dancing, a little this, little that, and if you can figure out exactly what they're saying, God bless you. But look, just get the trucks here and get people here. That's all. Even if it's one or two trucks, we get it. Everybody got hit across the state, so you are spread pretty thin. But if you're plugging away at it every day and you're restoring 50, 100, 200 people a day, that's a good thing. And some of these restorations are easy. You just literally have to flick a switch on the top of the transformer because it got tripped during the storm. So you have a special pole that they have, and you push the switch back up, and there's power. So there are ways to do this, and there's some easy wins they can get, but they're just nowhere to be seen.
And when they do something like this, they're nowhere to be found, and we're all getting angrier, and you could see that starting to happen, the speculation starts. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they're like, you watch. Danbury will be they'll go to Ridgefield and Newtown first. And I'm like, this is the kind of speculation that they're inviting.
Correct, because there's a lack of communication, and there's been very limited communication from them, and because, frankly, you will see a truck, in New Milford or some other place, and you sit there scratching your head knowing that we have nursing homes here, and we have rehab centers, and we have places that are running on generators, and our cell phone service is crashing because the batteries in these towers are running down, so you can't use your phones to call 911. You would think that they would understand that, but we've been all over them. Our emergency management people are so frustrated with them. It's unbelievable, and they can't give you an answer. So you're absolutely right. And
I'm no fan of Governor Ned the Head Lamont, but it sounds like he is on top of this. Have you had any communication with him about what?
I did. I fired them all up. But anyway, but he's frustrated too, and I think we ought to look at this whole system next legislative session, and they really ought to go back and look at that dereg bill and put some regulations back in place, cap their profits for crying out loud, and cap their CEO pay. I mean, that's just offensive.
I think that Eversource...
How would you live on $10 million instead of 19? I mean,
I don't know. I may only get the pool cleaned twice a week instead of 10 times a week.
I think that Eversource thought that they were going to get away with this last bill increase. I think they're kind of tone deaf, and I think that they thought that they were going to get away with this slow response to this storm. But the problem is we've been through this with them before, over and over again, and I think people have had it, and that's why there was a petition that had 80,000 signatures on it about the rate hike. Who knows what that number is at now? I haven't checked it, but people are furious.
Yeah, you guys, know a lot about PR and what you do for a living, and think about the PR nightmare that they've had. It just shows you scratch your head thinking, why are you paying these people this much? But first you had those bills go out. Then you had a reporting of a record profit, right? That was last week. And now you got a storm where you can't deliver services. I mean, could it get any worse for them? And people will keep their jobs, and people will continue to make outrageous amounts of money while the rest of us suffer.
Yeah, I'm going to suffer because I'm going to be thrown out of my house for peeing all over the bathroom because I can't figure out how to use the flashlight on my phone.
Listen, I heard the yelling all the way over at Kennedy Flats last night.
All right. Well, we normally do a couple of topics, but we'll just leave it at this is what people want to talk about, and I understand this is what I want to talk about. I've had it with this company, and I think we all have. And the more pressure we put on them, the more you call the phone number, the more you keep asking for help. And
did they hang up on someone?
Yeah, I had somebody told me yesterday they called to ask questions and they got hung up on.
Unbelievable. Well, I just want to mention we have 3 areas where you can get water.
Okay.
New Street Firehouse, King Street Firehouse, and the Mill Plain Firehouse. So if you need fresh water for your toilets and stuff, feel free to go there and fill up. Some of our firefighters are there, and they'll be able to help guide you. We also have a charging station set up at New Street Firehouse so you can charge your cell phone. And the mall is doing a socially distanced charging situation there. So if you need a place to go to get cool, go to the mall. They're keeping people separate. Make sure you wear your mask and all that stuff, and you can charge your phone there. Although I don't know what good it's going to do because there's very little service out there.
The charging is a great service to offer. You want to know how slow time can go by? Sit in your car, charge the phone, and don't touch it. I sat there yesterday. I said, I need to give this thing 40 minutes without touching it and just charge it. And I just sat in my car in my driveway staring at a tree for 40 minutes. I'm like, this is terrible.
All right, boys. Hopefully next week we talk to you. We got some power back.
Excellent. Good luck.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thanks for everything.
Yeah. Mayor Mark Boughton, ladies and gentlemen.